Hi, I'm Chief Hireologist Adam Robinson, and welcome to Fridays in the Lab. Today is part 3 of a 4-part series that will outline the best practices and tips for hiring salespeople. Sales interviews are challenging when you're not sure what questions to ask, but when you come armed with an interview script, it's much easier to stay on track and ensure you don't skip those critical questions. A question I often get asked is, what things should I focus on in order to run a great sales interview? Well, the answer lies in 3 simple steps. Understand the environment that made the candidate successful, understand the team dynamics in their prior jobs, and understand the sales activity that's required for success in your role. Let's start with the first step. Remember, a great salesperson is a product of their environment. If you're interviewing a salesperson who is working in a subpar environment but is making their numbers, you're probably looking at a superior candidate. On the other hand, if your company doesn't have a strong sales support team, a candidate coming from a very supportive environment may struggle to meet their numbers without that team behind them. That's why it's important to focus on the how more than the what when it comes to interviewing sales candidates. Imagine that a candidate just told you that they were the top salesperson at their company. Okay, that's great. But how many salespeople were on that team? If it's just 2 or 3, that's really not a strong statement. But if there were 300 salespeople on the team, now that's impressive. Second, make sure you're getting the details of this candidate's results, and that means getting the data. Don't let ignorance skew your view of a candidate. Double check their claims and make sure everything is accurate before handing over that offer letter. Ask for a W-2 before making an offer because earnings don't lie. As interviewers, we're trying to build a narrative about each candidate so that we can determine whether or not they fit our hiring needs. Can a top software salesperson from IBM succeed at your startup? Can a salesperson who has never worked for a big company in their life be successful at a company like Oracle? While both answers can be yes, you're taking huge risk by attempting to cross-pollinate sales resources. In B2B selling, activity data is critical. It all starts with a phone call to a prospect. And generally speaking, the more calls a salesperson makes, the more sales they have. If your company has no marketing support, no inside sales team, and no appointment setting support, then hiring a salesperson who hasn't made cold calls any time in the last 3 years will result in a loss of time and money over an unqualified hire. Which brings me to my final tip, sales numbers. One of the most important aspects to look for in a sales candidate is whether or not they know their numbers. Great salespeople know their numbers and sales ratios like the back of their hand. If they don't have a solid idea of their numbers, they're much less likely to have actually done what they're telling you they did. That's why you have to really dig in to your sales candidate's activity to find out if their process for achieving success is anywhere near the process that your company follows. Like we discussed earlier, if you don't have the marketing support to deliver a list of 250 names a week, then your newly recruited A-list sales pro is going to spend all of their time searching for people to call instead of actually calling them. They'll miss their performance target because they're spending time chasing down names. There's a lot on the line when you're hiring new sales talent. Just remember to focus on their prior selling environment, analyze their team situation, and continue to improve your understanding of the data. That concludes part 3 of our series on hiring salespeople. Stay tuned next week for part 4, where we outline the necessary steps you should take before extending an offer. Thanks for watching, and see you next week.